Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Selena, and you got it right. It's Hephzibah, HR Training and Development. It is absolutely my pleasure to be here today on this 11th day of September, a Saturday when we could all be doing so many other things, but we all decided to sit here and to grow, and that's what I'm all about. So I have a short time and I'm going to share my screen shortly with you. So you won't be seeing me until at the end of the presentation. But what I will say to you is grab a notepad if you don't, or a piece of paper and something to write with, because you're going to want to make some notes. Okay. And so let me share my screen. Okay, what are you guys seeing? You gotta let me know.
We can see you. Yeah, we can see the screen. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So actually I'm still having video, so we should be good. All right. So what we're going to talk about today in the short time that we have is landing that dream job. Everybody wants a job, but you want the dream job. And two very important components of actually doing that are the resume and your interview. That's how you land your dream job. So quick exercise, go with me, everybody. Follow me on this. It's only going to take a few seconds. So I want you to close your eyes quickly. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, keep your eyes closed, and then breathe out. Another one, a deep breath in right now and breathe out. Now open your eyes. Guess what? According to research, what you just did marks the length of time that a recruiter takes to skim your resume. That took all of 5 to 7 seconds. And that is how long it takes a recruiter to actually skim, because they don't read them. And I have an HR background. I've been an HR practitioner, HR manager for about 23 years. And I will tell you, I have seen thousands and thousands and thousands of resumes. In fact, for every job, it's been, research has shown that for every job posting, there are at least, or on average, 30 applicants. So imagine, if you have all of these applications coming in, resumes coming in, we're not going to read them. Nobody sits down and reads them. It takes only 7 seconds for us to decide, is this one that I'm going to keep, or I'm going to chuck it in the trash? So now we see why it's so important. It's crucial that your resume is the one that stands out and does not end up in the trash, but on the short list. So what are we going to talk about today? Quickly, we're going to talk about what a resume is, how do you get your resume noticed, common resume mistakes, the do's and the don'ts, and the cover letter, the oh so important cover letter. In section 2, we're going to talk about interviewing, the interview skills, interview preparation, nailing that interview, the interview do's and don'ts, the virtual interview, oh so important today because we are in this COVID environment, and interview follow-ups. Now, so let's talk about the resume. And guess what? Only 2%, 2%, and this is research, this has been tested, only 2% of resumes make it past the first round. You want yours to make it past the first round. So let's go, let's dive into this. So what is the resume? It's that document that lists your work experience, your education, and most importantly, your achievements from your previous employment. The recruiter wants to know that you have experience and that you've done something on your past job, not just that you had a job, that you have some achievements to talk about. Now, for some of you, you might be high school graduates, and so this is going to be your first experience with having to put a resume out there. So you're going to want to say what achievements you've accomplished as a student, right? And we'll talk some more about that. The resume informs the employer of your career aspirations, and it communicates to the employer the benefits of hiring you. Okay, what benefit is this person going to bring to my company? So how do you get your resume noticed? You need a clean and simple layout. We're going to look at what a clean and simple resume layout is, and we're going to look at an example as well. A summary statement. How many of you have an objective at the top of your resume? Well, in 2021, it is worldly believed, it's believed on a global scale, I should say, that the objective statement is not going to help you much, particularly now as a result of COVID. You need that summary statement. So we're going to look at that. Spotlight the key skills, and the key skills must be tailored to the job for which you are applying. So if you're a dog groomer on the side, that's your side hustle, and you're applying for a job as a teller in Commonwealth Bank, you think you need to be highlighting the skill that you're a dog groomer? No, it has to always be relative to the job for which you're applying. Start with your latest experience first. Recruiters want to know, what was the last thing you've been doing? Okay, add your volunteer or other experience. Now, this part is particularly important for students that don't have a lot of work experience. So you might have had volunteer experience that could apply for the position that you're looking for. Okay, it always has to be relevant. Remember that word, relevant. And then you have to quantify your bullets. What does that mean? It means that your resume is going to have bullets and not a bunch of texts and words, right? Because again, you only have about 7 seconds for that recruiter to look and decide, do they have what I need or don't they? So you're going to have to quantify them. But again, we're going to expound on that. Okay, so what are the components? We talked about the first thing, remember, it has to be a clean and simple layout. What are the components of a clean and simple resume? The first thing it must have is your name. Come on, they need to know whose resume it is. So that's a given. Must have your name, full street address. You're going to put your email address, and you're going to add on that a LinkedIn profile. Why a LinkedIn profile and not a Facebook profile? Because your LinkedIn profile is your business profile. If you don't have one, that's fine. The point is, it has to be a business-related profile. So your professional summary, remember we talked about that. It needs to be 3 to 5 lines, and we're going to look at some examples of professional summaries that are what you want to be striving for, going after. Skills. What are the skills that I'm bringing to the table for this job? They must be, again, keyword, relevant. Okay, relevant skills, and they should be bulleted. It shouldn't be a big old paragraph about your skills. It should be bulleted because you only have that couple 7 seconds. Remember, as long as it takes you to take 2 deep breaths, that's as long as an interviewer, or sorry, a recruiter is going to take to look at your resume. And I'm going to keep reminding you of that. Experience, your most recent experience, it again, 4 to 5 bullets, beginning with action words. Action words, that's the key. That's the key, action words. Education, your most relevant, not most relevant, sorry, your most recent education. And so what you're going to put on there is, maybe you've gotten a certification recently that is relative to the job. You want to put that first, so people see that you're qualified, you have the skills and the qualifications for the job for which you are applying. So let's look at some examples. Remember, I talked about the strong professional summary. So here it is. This person is applying for a job. I think it's going to be obvious that they're applying for an HR job. So HR assistant with 6 years experience working in the private banking sector. Confidential, charismatic, proficient with Microsoft Office, looking to assist your company with improving employee morale. SHRM certified. SHRM is an HR certification. So what is on this? What do you see here? What is on this list? We see here, they have strong character traits. There are strong character traits there. Confidential, charismatic. There's high proficiency, right? Proficient with Microsoft Office. That it mentions the job title. right? HR assistant, right? And you say now how you are going to help this company meet its goals, looking to assist your company with improving employee morale. So what are the key components of a strong professional summary? Strong character traits, in a few words, that's the first thing. Highlight your proficiency in a particular area. They want to see what you're good at. Mention your current job title or your current status. For a university student, I'm a current university student looking for an internship, or I'm a recent high school graduate, recent college graduate. Say how you're going to help that company to accomplish its goals. So those are the 4 things you're going to want to remember about the professional summary. Here is an example of a weak professional summary, and you see why it's weak. Okay, it does say I'm an HR assistant. I work hard. That's very ambiguous. Okay, I seek a challenging career with your company. So you see the difference between the strong and the weak professional summary. Very important, extremely important for your resume. So there is a skills section. Remember when we talked about the clean and simple resume, we talked about skills. It has to highlight your skills. So here we have technical skills, which are also called hard skills. And then we also have soft skills. Okay, let's talk about these technical skills. Technical skills or hard skills, sorry, are the ones that you learn through education, training, or experience. Again, keyword, relevant. What are the relevant technical skills? So for example, the job that this person is applying for might ask that they be bilingual. So this person is proficient in French. That's a technical skill. They have to learn that. Experience in Zoom, you might laugh at that. In this virtual environment that we're in this pandemic era that we're in, Zoom is an important component. And I use Zoom, I say Zoom, but any virtual platform. The fact that you have experience in using a virtual platform, that puts you ahead of the class, because employers are going to want to know if you're coming in as an HR assistant or as a manager, even a regular line employee. It's good to know that that sets you apart, because I can now rely on you to be technically savvy when it's time to run a meeting, attend a meeting, or speak with a client. Okay? Expertise in budgeting. So you have an expertise in that area. Okay? Now, soft skills. Those are those skills. Soft skills are those character traits that they possibly can affect how you work and interact with people. Most likely, they will affect the way that you interact with people. Those are what soft skills are. For example, superior communication skills, right? Proven problem solver, team player. These are what your recruiter is looking for. Excellent interpersonal skills. We want someone who's a team player, right? So now we talked about the other section on a clean and simple resume: experience. Those are going to be bulleted. Remember, you're going to use bullets. So here are 2 examples. So one example of a very good bullet, an experience bullet, would be developed a new sales strategy generating $4,700 in revenue. Why is that a good bullet? What makes that a good bullet? It's because recruiters want to see candidates with documented, measurable results. Okay? Because you can say anything, and that's why ambiguity is what you're going to run away from. You need to be able to say, I reduced costs for my company by 20%. I increased retention by 15%. You know, these are the things, right? As a result of you being on that last job, things changed. That's what the recruiter wants to know. Now, a bad experience bullet would be responsible for increasing sales. Anybody could say that. How do you quantify that? Okay. So what are some common resume mistakes? One resume for multiple job applications. There's no one size fit all when it comes to a resume. How many of y'all could put it in the chat, write one word for me called guilty when I ask you this question. How many times has somebody called you and said, oh, send me your resume. I know someone who's looking for people. Just send me your resume. Listen, you run to your computer and you just go ahead and send that thing off. If you're guilty, put it in the chat, because I'm gonna put about 10 guilties in there for me alone, because I've done that so many times, right? You never send one resume, you never have one resume on file. Every time someone says, send me your resume, find out the bare requirements of that job that they're looking for. What are they looking for? What are the skills they're looking for? Because guess what? You also be the one that's going in the trash if you don't make sure that it's tailored for the particular job, right? And then another mistake, including personal information. Or the recruiter doesn't need to know that whether you're married, they don't need to know that. And in some places in the United States, I will tell you, age, it is illegal for a recruiter to ask those questions. That's personal information that doesn't come before you and the job, right? So including too much personal information, all it does is takes up space, because your resume needs to be no longer than 1 to 2 pages long. Okay, that's at the bottom of the list, but personal information, that's just crowding up your page. Text heavy, we already talked about the fact that everything should be bulleted. Skills, experience should be bulleted. Unprofessional email addresses, sexy lady 242, boss man 242, no, keep them off. What is recommended is that you create an email address specifically for your, when you're sending out applications. All it needs is first and last name at Gmail or wherever, at Yahoo, whatever. But make sure it's professional. Unrelated social media profiles, we talked about that. Make sure it's only LinkedIn or something like that. Outdated and fancy fonts. Listen, Corsiva, script and all of this stuff, no. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Helvetia or Times New Roman, something simple that people can read quickly. And we talked about ambiguity. Stay away from it. People like to see numbers. And too long. It needs to be 1 to 2 pages max. Guess what? If you have under 5 years experience, your resume needs to stick on 1 page. 1 page, because it's not a CV. And there's a difference between CV and resume. People use it interchangeably, but there's a difference. Okay? So the difference is a CV is usually used for academic positions, research positions, that sort of thing. A resume, if you have less than 5 years experience, even in some cases less than 10 years experience, you keep that to 1 page, 2 pages max. Never ever do a 1.5 page, because it looks incomplete. So either you're going to swing it back the next way and take it back to 1 page, or you're going to try and spread it out to the 2 pages, okay? So here is a clean and simple resume example, 1 page. It has exactly what we talked about, name, address. At the top there, you see the summary, the professional summary, skills, we talked about that, professional experience, most recent first, yes, and then education. That is it. That's what's needed. And you know how we used to always put it in the chat if that's you. References available upon request. That's me. I used to do that too. No need for that. If your recruiter is looking for references, they're not going to go looking for your references before they call you in for an interview anyway. So take that off. That's just taking up space. You don't need that on there. People will ask you if they need references. Okay? So what is an excellent resume? In review, tailored to the job posting, grabs the attention of the employers and the recruiters. It sells your strongest skills and accomplishments. It shows that you are a match for a position or a project. And of course, the excellent resume is the one that would land you the job. One word I want you to also remember, relevant. Make sure that it always is relevant. It always ties back to the job for which you are applying. Now, the cover letter. Let me ask you all this question. What makes a birthday cake so special and different from any ordinary cake? What is it? Put it in the chat. The icing and the decoration, that's what makes a birthday cake appealing. That's what makes it stand out, right? So that's exactly what the cover letter is to your resume. The cover letter is the icing on the cake, right? It is a 1-page document which accompanies your resume. Short, 250 to 400 words. 400 is plenty in my book. 250, 300, that's good. What purpose does it serve? It introduces you, the candidate, and it briefly summarizes your professional background. Based on your cover letter, a recruiter will want to look further at your resume. So that is extremely, crucially important that you hook your recruiter from the cover letter. Okay, so what are the components of the cover letter? You're going to put your name, address, email address, etc. Okay, the introduction is your attention grabber. Listen, I have seen cover letters that were 2 pages long. And what y'all think I did with that? I didn't even read it. I'm sorry. I have to be honest. In all transparency, I might have read the first line, but I said, I don't have time for this today. I can't read all of this. And I'm telling you, that is what happens when you go beyond what's required. Okay? So your introduction has to be an attention grabber. Grab them from the first line. Who you are, the relevant experience, and how you can help them. That is what recruiters want to know. Who is this who's writing? What is their experience? And how can they help me as the recruiter? Okay, so you'll see on your screen a sample of what I've written as my cover letter. Okay, so my name is Patrice Taylor, and I would like to help your company leverage its position as a national employee of choice. I've been at Hephzibah HR for 5 years, and as the manager of the company, overall retention increased over 15%. Again, numbers, they like numbers, right? And now I'm telling you how I can help you. I can help you, all right? So next thing, the body of your letter. Now, this letter shouldn't be more than 3 paragraphs. Could be 4, okay? Short paragraphs. Why? And guess what? Bullets are acceptable. Bullets are okay in the case of a cover letter as well, but you want to keep it very short. So why am I the perfect person for the job? That's what the recruiter wants to know. That's your next paragraph. What are the most important qualifications and skills you possess for the job? So you talk here about your previous role and what you did briefly, because you want to save something for the interview, right? And then you talk about what skill or qualification sets you apart for the job that you're applying. So in my case, I have an international HR accreditation. A lot of people might not have that. So I'm going to highlight that in my letter, right? And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what I did at the company that stands out, right? My key achievements, important qualifications and skills. And then at the conclusion, I never forget to big the company up, okay? So it means that you've done your research. It shows the recruiter that you've done some research on the company. So we talk about the reputation of the company. People want to say, okay, this person has done her homework. Let me read further, okay? And it shows that there is a match between what the company's values are and what this person's values are. And then, of course, there's your conclusion, your call to action. You're now pitching for the call back, okay? So finally, I thank you for reviewing my application, and I hope that I can assist your company with attracting and retaining top talent. I would love to further discuss how my previous success can be an asset to your company. Wow. Which recruiter wouldn't look at that and say, now let me look at this resume? Right, and see, now we have the perfect resume because we know the 4 components of a clean and simple resume to go along with the cover letter. All right, so that in a nutshell, resume, and how do we make it stand out and be an excellent resume? And quickly, we're going to go through section 2, interview skills. So your resume has made it out of the pile onto the desk. Now, the interview. Let's go through this. And I use this from Indeed.com because I thought it was perfect, right? What are the 10 tips to succeed in your next interview? Research. We talked about research. Research is important for the letter. Research is important for the resume. And it is also important for the interview. Go in there knowing the company and knowing the position that you have applied for. Right? So a common interview question, and I want you guys to write it down because I hope you're taking notes. The top interview question, and you probably know it. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself. And believe it or not, even though we know ourselves, that is a question that throws us off sometimes. So prepare, right? Prepare the answers to that question. That's one question you want to prepare the answer to. Prepare the answer to that. So you talk, and how do you prepare for that? First of all, let me tell you something about myself. Number one, your current role. So if you're a student, I'm a recent graduate. Your current role, I am, currently a manager. I am currently an employee, right? And then you talk about the scope of your role, your current role, the scope of the role, and then a big recent accomplishment. Any accomplishment that happened as a result of that role or where you're currently at is what you're going to tell them when they say, tell me about you. So there's three things you're going to tell them about you: where you're at currently, the scope of it, and any big accomplishment as a result of the role. Okay, so you want to write that down. Study the job description. So when you see the ad, you pull that out, you print that off, you get your highlighter, and you highlight all of the skills, qualities, and experience that they're looking for, with a view to writing on your notepad which of those skills and qualities and experience matches up with what you're bringing to the table, so that when it's time to talk about it, you are already prepared. So answer your questions using the STAR method. What is the STAR method? We talk about the situation, describe a situation that took place, because they like to ask you that too. Tell me about a situation that you had and how did you handle it? That's the STAR method, okay? The situation, the task, what you were required to do, the action that you had to take to achieve it, and then as a result, what happened? So always use the STAR method. And then practice, practice, practice. Ask a friend, right? Or call me, Patrice, because what we do with Hephzibah is we offer interview coaching. So find an interview coach, even if it's not me. Find an interview coach, or find an interview coach right at home. You can go online even and look up questions and just practice them. So be prepared with examples of your work. If you're going to put something on that resume, know that it will be challenged. Have examples. Plan your interview attire. This says the night before, but I go beyond that, not the night before. Because, boy, you find out some things the night before, that something's dirty, needs to be ironed, etc. So plan your interview attire and make sure that you have a business suit for your interview. You might say, well, I'm on a tight budget. Borrow. Many have done it. If you have to do it until, hey, they say fake it till you make it. Well, you step out there, nobody has to know that's not your clothes, but you need to be representing, okay? Prepare smart questions for your interviewers. It shows them that you have done your homework on the company. It shows them that you are interested in the position that you're interviewing for. Make sure that when they ask, do you have any questions? Some people say, no, listen. I have had many people sit before me and say, no questions. I want to shake them and say, you sure you don't have a question? But always go prepared with questions. Even if they've answered the question in the interview, you then say, oh, I did have this question for you, but you answered that. Or maybe you could expound a little more. Go in there ready with your questions. Bring copies of your resume and a notebook and a pen. Don't rely on them. Don't ask your interviewer for a pen. No, you need to have your own. Tie your answers back to your skills and accomplishments. Remember, relevant. That's the key word. It always has to be relevant. So make sure that if you're saying that that's a skill and accomplishment, make sure you're highlighting that skill and accomplishment, okay? So what are the do's and the don'ts of an in-person interview? Do show up early. And how do you make sure that you show up early? If you're not sure where you're going that week before the interview, take a drive, make sure, okay? Get a ride if you don't have a car. But you got to find out where you're going. Don't wait until the day of. If an emergency comes up, call and say, because things happen. And an emergency is not, I'm running late. I've had people call me and say, oh, Ms. Taylor, I'm running late. Well, you know what happens. I don't say don't come anymore. I said, okay, but of course, that's one tick against you. Because if the other candidates are showing up on time, why can't you? Right? Unless there's an emergency. So if we know that there's an emergency, then we know how to be lenient. Okay? So do not extend your hand first. That's etiquette. Okay? So when you go to the interview, you wait for your recruiter to come into the room, your interviewer to come into the room, and you stand if you're already seated, and let them extend their hand, and then you reciprocate. You give eye contact, and they smile. Okay? I'll tell you, they don't know you. So the minute they walk into the room, immediately what they see is what they perceive, and their perception is their reality. So you be careful about what you give them, right? Wait for them. Now, they might have a boardroom table in there. You don't go and sit down before them. You ask, you wait, and they will say, have a seat. They will instruct you where to sit. Do not take your cell phone to an interview. Quick story, true story. A lady went for an interview. Interview was going well. About 20 minutes in, her cell phone rang. What did she do? Yes, she did. She pulled her cell phone out. She answered the cell phone. Not only did she do that, she had a conversation in the room. Needless to say, that interview that was going so well, it went south, and she was not called back. Okay. Do not, we're talking about the don'ts now. Do not. So that cell phone, where that says do, don't. So I'm going to fix that. Don't use the first names of your interviewer. Okay? Do not offer more information than asked. Answer only what they ask you. Do not slander previous employers, because you don't know who knows who, particularly in our Bahamian environment, in our Bahamian culture, this very small environment in which we live. And biggest one, do not lie. Don't lie. Because if you lie to get the job, it will show up in your performance. Do not lie. Okay, we're wrapping this up, guys. I know time is of the essence. So the virtual interview, we have to talk about that, because here we are in this pandemic mode where just about everything is done virtually. So the first thing you want to do is test your technology beforehand. Make sure you have bandwidth, make sure that, guess what, everything is working. And make sure your cell phone is charged up, just in case electricity goes off. You can do it from your phone. You can access Zoom from your phone. Wear professional attire. Okay, make sure what they see is professional. Prepare in advance. We talked about that. We talked about that already, that you have to be prepared. Limit distractions. If you are in a room, in a house where you're living with others, let them know, I am going to be off limits during this period. I'm having an interview. Let them know. Lock your door so nobody just comes charging in. Use professional body language. It's so easy to be comfortable when you're at home, but you have to maintain the mindset of professionalism. Build rapport. Make yourself approachable. Smile. You do that through body language because you're not in person now. So your facial expression is how you build rapport from a virtual interview. Be authentic. People can read when you're not being authentic. Just be yourself, relax, take a deep breath. And then, of course, follow up. You have to always follow up, right? Whether it's virtual or not. So here is how you follow up. First of all, before that interview is ended, you ask, when should I expect to hear from you? So you have an idea of how you should follow up. So you need to know, first of all, when should I expect to hear from you? So you send a thank you note at least 1 day, 24 hours after the interview. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited about the prospect of working with you, and I hope I hear from you soon. That's fine. You don't want to sound like a desperado, but you want to say thank you and that your hopes are high for the position. Then, so they've told you now when to expect a call, but you don't hear from them. So 1 week after they told you to expect a call, give them 1 week, because things happen. I can tell you, we say all the time, oh, we'll have this job. We plan to fill it within the next month. And things come up, executive decisions come up. Or we're so busy, we put it on the side for now. Things like that happen. So give them an opportunity, give them at least a week, and then you do a follow-up note. Just say, I'm just following up. I haven't heard from you. Just following up to let you know I am still interested in the job. And then there's the exception. Only time that you call them or you badger them, I won't even say the word badger. Forget I said that. The only exception is, let's say you applied for the job, and while you're waiting for the response, you get a job offer from another company. But you love the company that interviewed you before. So you want to reach out to the hiring manager, the person who interviewed you, and you say to them, hello, I'm just letting you know that I did, because you might have mentioned this in the interview, because a lot of interviewers ask, are you interviewing for other positions at the time, et cetera, and that's okay. So you need to let them know, well, I've gotten a job offer, but I am still interested in your position. Is there any idea of the time frame that you're looking at? That is perfectly okay. I have had people do that. And sometimes that may be the very person that we wanted, and that puts fire under us, and we say, listen, they're being courted by another company. I think we need to make a decision because this is whom we want. So that's okay. And then there's the feedback note. So you found out you were not selected. You get that dreaded no thank you letter from the company, and you're very disappointed. You don't cuss the company out. What you do is you send them a nice letter saying, thank you for your time. I appreciate that I didn't get the job. And then sometimes you could even ask them, would you mind sharing with me if there is any area that I fell down on so that I can improve myself? That's perfectly fine. There have been cases where the very ones that we did not select, but came back with that feedback note, we keep that on file. The person that we might have offered the job to might have decided, we don't want the job. We might go right back to you because you were decent enough to come back and say, keep me in mind. So that is also very important. Okay, so those are your interview follow-ups. So the key takeaways, it takes, you have to do your homework. You have to do your homework. Do your homework. It takes you doing your homework. So do your research on the company, do your research on the position. Tailor your resume. Tailor it for every position. Proofread your resume. Proofread your cover letter. Let somebody do a 4 eyes check on it. Because sometimes we are so sure of what we want to say. That's what we see on the paper, which might not necessarily be there. You can even use Grammarly, Grammarly.com, and you can have it proofread that way. Never leave off the icing. What did we say the icing is? The icing is the cover letter. So you never, ever send your resume out without a cover letter or a covering email, because sometimes, you can send it electronically. Confidence more than skills wins. I just want to put a little tack in that right there. I have had instances where people come in. They might not be the most skilled. Their resume might not have been the best resume. But I will tell you, confidence wins. When they walk in, they are confident in that interview, well spoken, well presented, and they have edged out that candidate whose resume was perfect, whose skill set was perfect. You know what we say? We can always train them. So you might have the most excellent resume, excellent cover letter, but never leave confidence out. Never leave confidence out. That's the topper right there. That's the tree topper right there. So preparation plus opportunity equals success. All right? So be prepared so that when the opportunity comes, you are successful. An excellent resume and cover letter, I will say, will get you in the door. But that excellent interview and confidence is what makes it excellent, will get you on the organizational chart. And that is it. Questions and answers.
That was an excellent presentation. I'm not even going to apologize for running over time. Guys, please get your questions in. I do have one here for you, Ms. Taylor. Will a recruiter check my social media even if it isn't listed on my resume?
Yes, a recruiter will check. A thorough recruiter will check. Yes. One advice I will give you is clean it up. Clean it up. Be careful what you have out there. Even as an employer, if you're already employed, that's what your employer does, and they have the right to do it. So that's important.
Thank you. I know you covered the dress code as well, but there was a question that popped in. Dress for the job you want, they say. Can I overdress for my interview?
Overdressed by whose terms? So you might think you're overdressed, but I'd rather go on that end of the spectrum. I'd rather overdress than underdress. So I want the interviewer to tell me that, oh, by the way, we don't dress this much when we come to work. You know, we're more a casual, laid back company. That's fine. That is fine. So in that case, you are not overdressed because in your mind, you are equipped, well equipped in a professional outfit for the meeting. Now let the interviewer or the employer tell you you're overdressed. So there's the answer to that. No, you cannot overdress for an interview.
Thank you so much. Those were questions that came in to me directly. I don't know, does anyone else have any questions? Now is the time to ask. Going once, going twice. I think you covered everything so thoroughly that everyone has such an excellent picture of what it is that we should be doing. Even I learned a lot today. And, you know, I didn't think that I could learn anything new when it came to resume writing and interview skills, but clearly there's a lot of things that I've habitually been doing wrong. So thank you very much for that. Guys, we have come to the end of our masterclass. I want to say a very, very special thank you to you for attending and also for our presenters who gave us so much information. Again, we will be recording this and sending it to you because there is 3 different buckets. What I will do then is make sure that I have it categorized so that you can click on the segments that you would like to rewatch or see in its entirety. I want to wish everyone a very safe weekend. A special thanks to Fidelity Bank who sponsored this. As you know, those sponsorships go toward raising funds for our 2021-2022 achievers that we give out at the end of the year. If you too would like to donate, please visit our website at jabahamas.org. Click on donate and your funds then will go toward raising funds. Your funds will go toward our goal of raising that scholarship money. Again, ladies, and I think Dr. Moxie has left, but thank you so much. We appreciate you. Everyone have a safe and wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much.